You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Patriot Nation podcast on an exciting Monday here for the NFL and the New England Patriots. I'm your host, Matt St. Jean, tonight. No Pat Lane, although he might be making an appearance later. I'm joined instead by a very special guest, Taylor Kyles. How you doing tonight, Taylor?
Doing well, man. There's a lot of stuff going on. I feel like I'm juggling a million different things. So I'm sorry if my eyes start darting around, but I'm excited to be here, man. We got a lot to talk about.
It's the perfect time of year to have ADHD because you're just overstimulated to the max.
It's like, again, it's a positive, but also, you got to get stuff done, and we're on the clock. But yeah, man, this is exciting. They're doing stuff that we wanted to see them do, which is good.
Yeah, we're going to get into everything, all kinds of news. Before we do, though, just a reminder, the show is presented by Prize Picks. Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Conference tournaments are here, which means the biggest moments in college basketball are getting closer. Be a part of the action on Prize Picks for both men's and women's college basketball. Actually going to be at the Big East tournament Wednesday through Saturday. Excited about that.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Definitely make sure you go do that. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right. Well, I had a whole outline ready to go of what we were going to talk about, Taylor. And then about 5 minutes before the show started, we got a new quarterback here in New England. So obviously Mac Jones traded away the other day to Jacksonville, and 1/3 of the Wolfpack coming home in Jacoby Brissett, 1 year, $8 million deal. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited, man. So obviously this is not the end. I think if anything, this points to the direction fans should want to go in, which is drafting the quarterback. And I know Mark Daniels of Mass Live during the draft mentioned, actually the whole team at Mass Live, to be fair, mentioned that the Patriots did have quarterback plan. It was to trade Mac Jones, it was to sign Jacoby Brissett, and it was to draft a quarterback. So 2 of those steps are already done. Now it's basically their fate is in the hands of the Commanders for the future of the franchise. And I really, really hope they're big Jaden Daniels fans. I am as well, but I am higher on Drake May, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is an awesome move. Jacoby brings such great energy, just such a great personality. He's beloved around the league, very highly respected. Obviously not someone you want starting any significant number of games. He's more like, spot starter, backup, somebody who can just help ease a rookie quarterback into, their first season. But he was the best option. He reunites with Alex Van Pelt. This is the team that drafted him. I'm fired up, man. And he was one of the first people to wear this version of the Pats uniform, because when they had the throwbacks, I think it was one of the first games was 2016. So I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, when they brought out the color rush week 3 against the Texans and Brissett's first start, that kind of became the base for this new uniform they have. Mm-hmm. And you get that play where they run the bootleg with him, the naked bootleg for like a 27-yard touchdown or whatever. And that was the game, where it's a rookie third string quarterback against a team that was good. That was a good Houston team. And you blow them out the way they did in that fashion was kind of, all right, we know this team was special, but I like Brissett because he can work in structure. He can do play action. He can throw over the middle. Like he raises the floor. I don't know if he raises your ceiling all that much, but he raises your floor. You shouldn't have as many stinkers. You're going to work more in the structure of the offense, I think, too, more consistently. So if the coaching is good, then the quarterback play should be, competent, which will be an upgrade most of the time. And you talk about not starting him next year. I also look at this quarterback market. And you got Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta and what Minnesota is going to do. Minnesota seems poised to be aggressive in a trade up. And if there's not a quarterback there at 3 that New England likes, and they feel comfortable starting Brissett for a season, this also means, all right, you can feel good about the play on the field and you can accept a trade back and get a haul. And, if they get a Trey Lance style deal where you're getting couple extra firsts coming up. All right, well, you got your quarterback for now. You can build an offense, and you got the ammo in the future to make moves for a quarterback or a wide receiver or whatever it is you want to do. And I think that's why this move made so much sense from the first time you even look at who the options are in free agency.
Yes, sir. I mean, especially it's only an $8 million deal. Like obviously, like Brissett's not Kirk Cousins, he wasn't going to make that kind of money, but $8 million is pretty solid. I think in 1 year, nothing long term. I don't see how you could be up. I mean, I'm sure Pats fans are creative. I'm sure somebody will find here. Just joking. I've been one of you. I appreciate y'all, but yeah, no, man. I feel like this is a really good deal. Obviously, not the kind of it's not Calvin Ridley. This is not the thing that's going to keep the team. Improve the team in terms of long term or what, like you said, what their ceiling is necessarily. But it's one of those necessary, solid moves you need to round out your roster and add those key role players.
Yeah, much needed. I talk about rounding out the roster too. They made a bunch of key re-signings here in the last couple days. Michael Onwenu, who was signed, within the hour, I think here.
Under $20 million a year, which was crazy. I thought he was going to make something north of that. Yeah.
Yeah, which I will say, I think it's a little bit concerning to look at that and say, if guards are getting $20 million and nobody's willing to pay this tackle more than that.
We got another former Browns signing. Sione Takitaki has been signed as well. Probably a Mac Wilson replacement, I'm guessing.
That's really interesting. I don't know much about him.
I don't either, honestly. I'm gonna have to do some work.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We'll have to circle back on that one.
Yeah.
But Onwenu at $19 million a year max on that deal. It's not like that. That's what it caps out as, which I think is really good because $19 million is the transition tag for an offensive lineman. So you're not paying extra for him. They've re-signed Hunter Henry. They've re-signed Kendrick Bourne. So bringing back the core pieces, some of the few pieces I think we did feel good about on this offense. What's your feeling on the money they're giving out to these guys and what the role is going to be next year?
I think it's totally fair. I think so I'll start chronologically. Mike Onwenu, I thought that was a great deal. Like he was the best free agent on the market up for the offensive lineman. So I thought that was fantastic. Hunter Henry, you can say they overpaid him a little bit, but it's under $10 million, which is really what I was hoping for. They kept him off the market and he was going to be the best player. So that was pretty big for them. And also, like, he's a team captain. This is an offense that's going to be undergoing a lot of change, both schematically and personnel wise. So I thought keeping a security blanket, who's also a great red zone presence, was really important. And then Kendrick Bourne, the energy he brings. Like, I know as a reporter, I was excited because he's a really fun guy to cover. But also, we've seen that he has some serious big play potential when he's out there and when he's actually allowed to have a role in the offense, and the offense is actually competent to a degree. So another guy where it's a very fair deal. Like if he doesn't produce, he's not making very much money. He's that veteran presence, and he is coming off the ACL, so he does have the ability to make way more money if he comes back and does play well. I think you could probably expect him maybe to take a step back this season in terms of the juice, because he's not known for being a fast guy, but he's electric with the ball in his hands. So maybe he won't be quite as explosive in that way. But, I mean, he really wins because he's got great hands and he's a really good – or not really good necessarily, but he's a smooth route runner and he knows how to get open. He's just – you watch him and it's like this guy just understands how to play the position. And those things are still going to be intact. He's still got his size and everything. So, I mean, again, these were the signings I was really hoping to see them make. Like, these were their guys who – they're leaders. Hunter Henry and Kendrick Bourne, they're not Mike Onwenu, but they are important pieces and guys who were part of the reason the team was doing anything well offensively at all. So I know it's easy to say, like, oh, they're re-signing these guys. This was a 4-win team last year. Yeah, but not everybody on the team was bad. A lot of that had to do with their quarterback situation, and they just traded the quarterback. And, Bailey Zappi is not expected to be the guy. So, I don't really see how you can poo-poo any of these moves. I think this regime's off to a really good start.
Well, I think avoiding taking a step back is huge when you are already in that tough a shape. And I think, the leadership matters here. All three of these guys can be leaders for you, and you're trying to establish a new culture, I think, on offense. So having these guys is huge there. The deals, Bourne was 3 for 19.5, but can make up to 33. Henry, 3 years, $27 million, can make up to 30. And on Onwenu, 357, 38 of that is guaranteed. I think all very fair deals. I agree with that. I'm not sure how much cap space they have left at this point. I'm gonna have to consult Pat's cap there on
Yeah, we
Twitter
gotta
later
ask
tonight
Miguel.
to see what it looks like. Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
expert on this. But definitely definitely room to make more moves. And the Patriots did make one addition today. Well, now they had the linebacker from the Browns, but before that, Antonio Gibson, running back from the Commanders. This is a guy I highlighted early in the process. It's a 3-year deal worth a little over $11 million. I like him as a compliment to Ramondre Stevenson because I think he takes that load off in the passing game, and
Yep.
I thought this was an obvious fit. Is that where you are in this?
Yeah, I mean, he was another guy that I was doing some research on. I was kind of talking to a Commanders fan who, I think a lot of it just had to do with the offense they had in the offensive line where, a lot of his production was suppressed. So I wasn't positive how he would fit, although I did think he was definitely intriguing. Of course, you were already on it. You prepared for it. But one, I think he's just a fun mismatch where the guy's like almost 230 pounds. I think he's more than 230 pounds, ran a 4.38 coming out of the combine. So he's got really good athleticism and size, receiver background, so he can create mismatches. And the Pats haven't had that since James White. I do think Brandon Bolden's underrated. I thought he did a really solid job in 2021 as the receiving back once White went down. But he still wasn't really a mismatch. He wasn't somebody that scared you. He was somebody where it's like, all right, he does his job and he gives you something in the receiving game. But now, Ramondre, he's been a solid pass catcher. Like the dude led the team in receptions in 2022. He's not, he's no stiff or anything, but at the same time, he's a big guy and he's big, but he's not fast like Gibson is. And he doesn't have that receiver background or really flexibility. So I think it made sense in terms of what the team needed, which was that receiving kind of threat. He can also be a good pass protector. So it really does seem like a good fit as a third down back. And most of his success in the run game came on wide zone, which we know we're going to see a lot of in Alex Van Pelt's system. So it'll be interesting to see just how much they plan on actually using him as a runner. But in terms of, the pass catching and the mismatch and everything, I think it's a good signing. And it's also at a modest deal. Like, I know it wasn't the most exciting first move for the Patriots to make, but it's definitely one where I can see getting excited. And one other thing I'll mention, I know a lot of people will talk about the fumbles. He fumbled 4 times last year. 2 of them were bad, and I'll give you that. Like 2 of them, he had one hand on the ball, got stripped. One of them, he was getting hit as he was turning around. I think it was kind of a borderline drop. And then there was another one where it was also
like a
kind
toss
of
play, right?
Right, it was a toss, and he dropped it and picked it right back up. So it's like, all right, weird stuff happens at times, but I just wanted to get that out there. That was the biggest criticism I saw. And looking at the tape, I was like, yeah, it's not really that big of a deal. Also, I got a text from my buddy Corey, who covers the Browns, and he was saying they got a good one, the Pats in Taki. So that's one to look forward to.
All right, so that'll be I'll have to dig into the film after this on him. But yeah, all good points on Gibson. I also think it's interesting now that this is the second time kind of in a row they've gone after somebody like this because they signed Ty Montgomery before in this kind of hybrid wide receiver running back role, and that didn't work out for them. But now you get somebody who is more athletic, who's younger, who doesn't have the injury history that Ty Montgomery had, and has been a lot more productive in his career. It's the same idea, but you're getting a player who is much better quality, and I think it allows Ramondre Stevenson to rest a little bit more. It doesn't have to be all on him, and if he's fresher, he should be better. So you gotta build out that committee. I like that signing. Those are the big names coming into New England so far. We got a couple names going out. I think the biggest going out is Devontae Parker, who was cut today. I think this is a move people saw coming. Is that your read on it too?
Yeah, it was pretty obvious. There just didn't seem like there was a room, especially with them trying to reset the culture and everything. I know that I feel like players like Devontae Parker. That was really the vibe that you got. They call him Unk on social media and everything. So there's clearly something there where they like him, but I mean, we all saw the film. It wasn't very good. He had a great camp, which is why I personally was like, yeah, the extension makes sense. Because I'm telling you, I was there. He was making highlight catches like every day. It wasn't like, oh, where is this coming from? It's like, no, he looks like their only consistent receiver. It made perfect sense. And then just fell off a cliff. I don't know if it was the knee or what it was, but his play really took a step back. And then I felt like the effort started to really fall off and the consistency in his routes. Once things got bad, it just didn't seem like he really had a place on this version of the team.
No, and you saw in 2022, I think you saw some glimpses from him where he looked really good. I mean, that Baltimore game, he looked special at points in that game and like a guy who could be your true number one. And I think we kind of chalked up some of the inconsistency there to the Matt Patricia-led offense and all the hiccups that came with it. And then he has a great camp. And then for it all to go downhill this quickly, It's tough and unceremonious end to his time in New England, but I think it was the time to move on. I'm going to throw another name out here, which is not as big of a name, but I do want your opinion on it. I'm curious. Chris Board let go by New England earlier, the special teams linebacker. This is one that confused me because he doesn't make a lot of money. He was a core special teamer last year, and from my eye, he did a pretty good job on it. So I don't know if you have a different perspective on his performance last year, but it caught my eye.
Yeah, I thought he was fine. I thought he was going to be a standout, and that's what I think they were expecting as well, because he was in Detroit. Like, I remember looking at the film, I was like, damn, okay, like this is a pretty cool signing. One, I think philosophically they're going to go away from keeping pure special teamers. That's kind of one of the bigger messages I got, was because, like you said, he wasn't expensive or anything, and he was fine. But I think, to justify a roster spot as a special teamer these days, you need to be very good. Like, you need to be somebody where we hear your name every week. And that wasn't really the case with Boards. So, I think that was really just it. I think they're maybe just going somewhere else philosophically. And he didn't clear a lot of room. So, yeah, I really think it's really as simple as that. And he kind of just didn't live up to the expectations where, again, he seemed like a Pro Bowl caliber special teamer. And there were weeks where I was like, I've not heard his name once or really noticed him on tape.
Yeah.
So.
And I was, I think I was more surprised they didn't even bring him into camp to see if they were going to get that level out of him, but they're the ones who are working with him every day. They know what they're getting a little bit better than we do. And then the last name here, which is tied to the Browns linebacker Sione Takitaki, that the Patriots just brought in, Mac Wilson, going to Arizona, not re-signing with the Patriots, which was a big shock because we know how active he is on social media with Patriots fans. I think this is just the money on this one.
Seems like, especially they signed Taki the same day. So it seemed like they had a plan. And from what I've been seeing on the timeline from other people on the beat, they just didn't want to match the money, which, I understand. He was a rotational guy, coverage linebacker, obviously pass rusher. Like, it was awesome. He was making plays, really productive player, especially considering he was in a niche role, put on muscle, which really showed when he was playing the run, where that was a huge liability in his game, especially recognition. Like we saw in that Packers game in 2022, where RPOs were killing him. And I think, one, the team acknowledged we didn't use him the right way. I also think he started to process things better once he was in the system for longer. And again, the size helped. And adding the pass rushing, I did not expect that, but that was really cool. So, good for him. I think Gannon's going to really be able to maximize him. They were quietly doing some really good stuff there in Arizona defensively. But yeah, I think it's just they didn't want to match that money for what was going to be just a rotational player for them. We don't have the numbers on Taki yet, but I would assume that it's going to be much more affordable.
Yeah, those numbers will be interesting. I think it does say that they see him as just a role player, that they kind of felt like they may have gotten the best out of him last year, and that they didn't get any more. There wasn't any juice left in that to squeeze out worth that contract. So obviously, wish him well out there in Arizona. Let's talk about some of the positions or players that are still out there. So we look at free agency, and I'll just throw a bunch of positions at you, and you can kind of go where you want with it. We know the Patriots have been tied to Calvin Ridley at wide receiver. There's been mentions of Tyron Smith at offensive tackle. We've seen some big defensive tackles come off the board. DJ Reader, I think, might be the biggest name left there. Look at tight end. Gerald Everett, I think, is the biggest name left there, with Noah Fant signed back in Seattle. Justin Simmons, a guy who is on a lot of people's radars as a kind of a ball hawk free safety after he was cut by Denver. Just some of the names out there in free agency. Josh Uche still, Anthony Jennings left unsigned. You can pick where you want to go with that, but what are your thoughts on where the Patriots might go from here?
So I'm just thinking of players that I kind of had as like my guy, so I was really excited about. I would say Jonah Williams, because he still have a hole at left tackle. I know that's not going to excite people, but the market is what the market is. And I don't think that they're going to have to take a tackle in the first, they're going to have to take a quarterback in the first round. So I don't think they're going to be able to get the kind of left tackle they can just plug and play immediately. So I think,
Do you think they would go with Jonah Williams over a Tyron Smith?
I don't think Tyron Smith's coming here. He has no incentive to come here. Like, he's probably only going to play another season or two. Why in the world would you want to spend that on a rebuilding team? So yeah, I don't think there's any shot in hell. Would he be cool? Yeah, but he's also injury prone too. Like, if you had a decent quality rookie left tackle, then like maybe they get some time in there, but still, like, I just don't think the fit makes much sense. But yeah, Jonah Williams is someone who He's not a great athlete, so he does struggle against some more athletic pass rushers, but he's solid. He's a technician, and he's a decent run blocker. And I think he just gives you someone who's a little bit more well-rounded than what you would get from, say, like who else even on the market? I can't even think of anybody, honestly, but like Chuks Okorafor, for example, like he's a good pass protector. I think he's a better pass protector than Jonah Williams, but he really struggles as a run blocker. And he hasn't played left tackle since college. So I know Doug Guide reported that the team sees, I called it too. When he got signed, I said, I think he might be an option on the left tackle because I didn't think he was going to replace Mike Nwenu. But I think that Jonah Williams is probably their best option at left tackle for like a bridge starter for a couple years. And then beyond him, I'm trying to think who they haven't. They already signed Brissett. So then Calvin Ridley is the obvious one. I think in terms of like pass rushers, Danielle Hunter, maybe. I feel like he's one of the only guys who's really left who moves the needle. Kind of an odd fit where he's more of like a Dietrich Wise, hand in the dirt kind of defensive end, but he can move all over the formation. He's more productive. And it's also notable that Dietrich Wise's snaps went down last season. I don't know if that was them trying to, pull back a little bit. And even then, like Wise was like playing a ton the year before, and it really got pushed back. So I'm not sure if like they're trying to take some snaps from him. But yeah, honestly, there's not a ton of guys that really come to mind. Honestly, I like what they've done so far. The biggest thing was keeping their guys. But I think Jonah Williams and Calvin Ridley are the two guys that I'd really like to see them add. Everybody else is kind of like, guys that you just use to kind of plug in holes. And I guess you could talk about like trades. If they miss out on Calvin Ridley, I'd love to see them go for Brandon Ayuk. I know T. Higgins, I mentioned them going after him on the trade market, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, if it's like a second rounder, just take a young player.
Well, and if Calvin Ridley and T. Higgins are similar amounts of money, I'd rather have Ridley than Higgins for the same money and the draft pick. And if you're going to give up the draft pick, I think you go for a better player in Ayuk. I fully agree there.
Same page. But yeah, I think Mooney is interesting. I like him. I think he was kind of wasted because of Fields' inaccuracy, but he's also a slider guy. So I don't love that fit because I think the Patriots with that more Packers style system, they like bigger receivers. Saw Tyquan Thornton.
Hollywood Brown. No Hollywood Brown then?
I don't think so. Because him and Pop, it's like that feels a little weird as a combination. Also, I will mention, I said Tyquan Thornton. If you guys haven't seen it, look him up on Twitter. Dude is getting jacked. I think there's a legitimately decent chance that either he did it, obviously, to add muscle because he's been so injury prone. And there's a chance that the Patriots were like, you need to get bigger or like, we might cut you. I don't know anything. I'm purely speculating, but I mean, dude is looking much bigger than he has in the past. So, he's another example of like a slider guy who I didn't think fit, and I really wasn't sure what his role would be next season other than like a gadget guy. But now that he's bigger, I'm like, damn, he might compete for the X spot. Who knows? They need one, so we'll see what happens.
If you can get anything at him, even if he's a backup, a guy who can be your fifth or sixth wide receiver, I think at this point, with what we've seen in the past, you'd be happy with getting that. Justin Simmons, to me, I still want them to add a free safety. I think if they can, because I think if you add a true free safety, then that lets Duggar and Peppers kind of operate where they're best. Geno Stone was a name I was interested in. Who
he missed too many tackles. I feel like that.
Yeah, that was the one issue with him. But I was wondering if him in like a Duron Harmon type of role, where he's your third safety, he's going to come in and he's going to play far away from everybody else. If they might be interested, obviously not. He's in Cincinnati now. We'll go to break in a sec, but before we do, when you look at free agents that have signed elsewhere, or the things that have gone on around the league, are there any contracts that you wish the Patriots had handed out, or big stories other players other teams have signed that caught your eye?
Christian Wilkins was a guy that I really wanted. I understand not signing him, especially because you got to re-up on Barmore. I kind of like the idea of, you can sign two guys, and I understand it's weird when they're at the same position. But then for me, it's just you get two good pass rushers who can also play every down for you. So then it's like, all right, you beef up the interior, and then the edge can just be affordable guys where their job is more to make sure you contain rather than necessarily being those highly paid pass rushers. But him him on the same line as Max Crosby is going to be absolutely freaking sick. So I thought that was really cool.
The stunts they're going to run are going to be
fantastic because Wilkins is really good. That's why I thought he was going to be a fit for the Pats. And then Gabe Davis to the Jaguars, I thought was just funny. Trying to think.
I think that's actually kind of I think that might actually be a good fit. It's not that he's the best player, but I think they needed somebody to stretch the field a little bit, especially on the outside. I think if there's one thing that was an issue for them, I think Ridley and Christian Kirk have some overlap in their game that made it hard to use both of them. And if we talk about Ridley to New England, I think that's the concern too, is the overlap between Ridley and Bourne, and then Bourne and Pop, and the way you would get all three of those guys on the field in a way that maximizes their skill sets.
Yeah. I honestly, you kind of nailed it. I got nothing. But I will say this. The streakiness for Gabe Davis is just like, I mean, he didn't get a big deal or anything, but like if you look at his stat sheet, it is alarming. There are literally weeks where he won't do anything. I mean, literally anything, zeros. It is staggering. I don't think I've ever seen it for a guy of his caliber, where he's like a captain, he's a starter, and you don't see anything from him. It's wild, but hey, I mean, I wish him all the best. Maybe
he's the new Aguilar, kind of, in certain ways.
Yeah, honestly.
Similar profile. All right, we're going to do a quick ad break here, and then we'll be back. We're going to be doing some mock draft stuff. I think we got about 20 minutes here, so we're going to go through my mock draft, and we're going to do a quick live mock, and you guys can weigh in on the comments. And all right, we'll be back after this break.
Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Now, Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so your entries stay in play, even if one of your players gets injured. For basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player projection won't count against you, and the rest of your entry stays live. Now, this week for me, I have Steph Curry for more than 29 points and Nikola Jokic for more than 10 rebounds. And then Caitlin Clark for more than 30 points and LeBron James for more than 7 assists. So download the app today and use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
All right, we're going to get into a mock draft. We're going to do a quick back half of the show here, because I know Taylor has some writing to do. He's always on the move with all of the signings the Patriots are making. We're gonna go real quick. I had my mock draft, my third of the season, drop on Pat's pulpit earlier today. You should go check it out. I'm gonna go through this, Taylor, and we'll go get your thoughts on this as I read through. I have the Patriots taking Drake May at pick 3 if he falls there. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I'm not sure if that needs explanation at this point.
No, sir. Yeah, I'm all for that. Drake May all day, baby.
Yeah, I like Jaden Daniels, but May, I think, is a clear half tier up.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's significant enough considering like where the tiers are here. But we're talking about, the third pick. If you can get May instead of Daniels, especially, I just think May's ceiling is significantly higher. Although I think you could argue like the tiers may not be significant, but I personally I think they're in different places. So yeah, Drake May, no brainer. Run up the draft card.
Yeah. Second round, I have the Patriots taking Xavier Legette, wide receiver from South Carolina. I actually went through about 3 or 4 different wide receivers at this spot. I had Ladd McConkey in there at one point. I wasn't sure if he'd still be around. I had Troy Franklin in there, Xavier Legette. There's a whole bunch of other guys in that range. I picked Legette. How do you feel about that? And would you pick the same receiver out of that tier?
Yeah. My second rounders that I really like are like Pearsall. I probably would have higher. He's Roman Wilson. For me, I'm kind of off him a little bit. I don't think he's bad, but I would like someone like a Ricky Pearsall more. But I also do like Legette a lot. I took him in the third round of my mock. I feel like his stock is going to rise a bit. And people are going to hold him a little bit higher, but you just go by the simulator. But I do like him. I think, he may not ever be a guy who runs the entire route tree, but I do think he's got good size. He's got good speed. He's overcome a lot of adversity. Seems like a really good dude. He was a team captain. He did meet with the Patriots, so there's that there. He told me at the combine. And then as a route runner, I still think, he gets into guys' blind spots. He doesn't let people keep their hands on him. He's really physical, which I like. He's not the bendiest guy necessarily, so that's why I don't think he's going to be the most fluid route runner, but he's good, and I think he has the talent to dominate. So I really like Xavier Legette for sure.
Yeah, he's fun. His highlights are fun. You watch that Georgia game, and it's Rattler and Legette against the world in that one. Some brutal stuff, but you see the breakaway speed, freak athlete. He can plug in and play at X, hopefully, and that puts Bourne, Pop, and maybe Calvin Ridley, I think, in better positions to succeed.
Mhm.
Round 3, Karan Amagaji. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Out of Yale,
Yeah.
the tackle. Do you have any thoughts on this guy? I don't know if you've gotten into his film at all.
I haven't gotten to his film, but I trust Brandon Thorne's analysis with my life. And he seems to think that he's a talented guy who has a good ceiling. So, I'm not going to go too deep because I don't want to start, talking out of my neck or anything. But I like him as a third round value if you want that developmental kind of left tackle who, after you spend your early pick on a receiver or weapon in general.
Yeah. I have them double dipping at tight end, rounds 4 and 6. Theo Johnson around 4, Tip Raymond in round 6. Both guys who tested very well. I think top 10. I think both had top 10 relative athletic scores all time for tight ends.
Yeah.
So kind of just going for the athletes there. I don't know. I haven't watched a ton of film on either one of them. I don't know if you have, but
same. Honestly, I have not. And this is another one I don't want to I haven't even really gotten to watch their highlights yet just because at the combine I was so busy. That thing is nonstop. And then obviously free agency picks up. But once free agency settles down, I'll have a better chance to actually watch a lot of these guys. But I mean, they're athletic. Their scouting reports seem like they're guys who could probably contribute early, not have a huge role, but could develop into some pretty significant role players. So I'm about it. I like those. I like the idea of double tipping a tight end, especially, I feel like the Patriots are going to re-sign Pharaoh Brown, but they still need some youth at the position. So all for it.
Yeah, I think 2 veterans with a rookie for the third spot you can develop probably is a winning formula here. Their other picks, Javon Foster, offensive tackle out of Mizzou. He was a guy who people really liked at the Senior Bowl. Edge defender Brendan Jackson with the Mac Jones trade pick from Washington State. Really high effort guy, another guy who tested well at the combine. And maybe my favorite name in the draft, Bub Means, the wide receiver from Pitt, wrapping it up in the 7th round there. I think if we have time to get through this quick mock draft together, I want to get to that. So any thoughts on those guys before we jump into it?
Only one I really have one on is Bub Means, because obviously he was coached by Taekwon Underwood when he was at Pitt. So there's that connection. I did actually watch his highlights last night, so that's good timing. He's someone who's got size. I think he could maybe play some X for you. He's got some downfield ability. He's got some jump ball ability. I haven't dove into the tape too much, so I don't have a great idea of his profile. But with the familiarity and the fact you could probably get him on day 3, I think that makes a lot of sense for a team that it could use as many weapons as possible.
Yeah. And that's, you get a quarterback and you double dip at wide receiver, tight end, and offensive tackle. I think that's probably a good use of resources there with where this team is. You don't need as much defense in this draft.
Right. Maybe like a pass rusher, corner if they fall to you. But honestly, if they don't have any extra picks, you got to focus on the offense.
Yeah, fully agreed. All right, we'll rip a quick mock draft here. We'll do no trades or anything. We'll just go through and make some picks and talk through it. I'll switch over here. We got the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator up. Let me find my tab here. We'll just get right into it. See how this falls for us. I want to hear your thought process as we go through this too. Well, that's one heck of a way to start this draft.
Drake May, run it up to the desk where they take cards. Yeah. I don't know why. Podium, that's what it is.
Yes. Yeah, for the audio listeners, it was Caleb Williams and then Joe Alt as the top 2 picks. Something tells me that's not how it's going to go at the actual draft, but I would love it if that's what happened. On the board at pick 34.
Let's see. A.D. Mitchell. I like him as an X option a lot.
Yeah, he's good. Would you think about a tackle here in Jordan Morgan?
I from what I've seen and heard, I feel like Jordan Morgan might be more of a guard. And with this pick, sorry.
He had the arm length. He had good arm length when they measured him.
I think it's more like how he actually operates in space, more than just the arm length. Kind of like a Troy Fautanu, where people, the arm length was a big thing, but there were some questions. Although I think he can improve there. He's such a good athlete. But yeah, I think Jordan Morgan's foot speed is kind of an issue for me. And with this pick, if you're not getting like a home run, like could maybe start halfway through the season to tackle, I like for it to be a weapon. Xavier Worthy's super interesting, but he's also so undersized and it scares me. I don't think he fits. But A.D. Mitchell, again, seems like probably the best fit for New England, what they're looking for these days.
Yeah, I agree. Experienced outside receiver there. He's got the speed. He's got the size. I think he still has to refine a little bit, but there's a lot to like about his profile. Right. And I don't think he gets past where the Chiefs and the Bills are. 68 here. We got Chris Braswell, Michael Hall, JT Sanders, Ben Sinnott, Roman Wilson, the
Whoa.
top 5 on the board here. I'm a big Ben Sinnott guy. I'll tell you that right now.
Uh,
You're not?
I do like him, but I see Ricky Pearsall. So I'm double dipping at wide receiver, and I'll just use the next pick on a tackle because he's Ricky Pearsall, I think, from what I can see. Again, we're focusing on offense here. I think he's the best player on the board. Jatavian Sanders, you can make an argument, but I think Pearsall is somebody who can play for you every down, whereas I do not feel the same way about Sanders.
All right, we'll add Pearsall here at pick 68.
Cooking with gas.
Yeah, draft rolls on. Ooh, we could go just like my mock was here with Karan Amagaji, Blake Fisher, right tackle from Notre Dame, still on the board.
Yeah, got some good options. Oh man, I think this mock simulator is a little out of pocket because I don't know how all these guys are going to fall, but go full send with Kieran. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I will also say, just as I'm wearing my Michigan sweatshirt here, if Mike Sandersville was actually here, I would be very, very okay with that pick.
I wish.
Yeah. So Amagaji, the pick there in the 4th round. 5th round, got James Williams, Malik Mustafa, Jamari Thrash. Thrash is a guy I like, although we don't need a receiver at this point.
Yeah.
Jared
Jaheim
Wiley
Bell stands out for me.
Jaheim Bell. I like Jaheim Bell, and I think he's a scheme fit, but it did stand out to me that his athletic testing, it was good. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And that concerned me a little bit.
Where's Dylan Laube? Yeah. Is he still on here? Is he still available?
Let's see if Laube is around. Does not look like it.
Smart. Okay. I'm still feeling Jaheim Bell. Jaheim Bell, honestly. Who else is lower on there?
Zach Zinter was a really good guard. If they're trying to, just boost up your interior line. Luke McCow, we still need a receiver.
Yeah.
Didn't Gabe Hall at defensive tackle? He was pretty good, I think, in the pre-draft stuff.
You pick this one, because I'm stuck on Bell.
I'll take Bell. I like Bell. Okay. He's
5th round.
I think he can be like a fullback type for you too.
Right.
He can line up in a bunch of spots, and I think AVP would really like that. 6th round, they got 2 here in the 6th. Anybody standing out to you?
Muhammad Kamara. This is
when
you start kind of boosting your defense. Yeah, I like that one. I think he could be a rotational pass rusher who develops into a pretty solid edge guy for you.
All right. Well, that'll be the pick at 180. I haven't watched him at all, so good to know. 193.
Let's see who's left. AJ Barner, lock it in. Yeah. I love his game.
Yeah,
there's your double
walking
dip.
Tight end right there.
Mm-hmm. And he's got some athleticism. I think he could be a really sneaky receiver if you give him some time to develop.
Yeah. And the last pick here, 231.
Tip. Sorry, buddy. Who's the best running back available? Still need a back.
Let's see. Dejon Edwards, Jahar Jordan, Rasheen Ali, Jason McClellan. I don't know any of these.
Honestly, I don't either. Yeah, these are not familiar names for me.
Drake Nugent, to me, I know that the guys on the Michigan offensive line did well, and we actually have Pat, who just jumped in here. Pat,
what's up, fellas? How's it going?
All right, you make the last pick.
All right.
We got a quarterback, and we got a bunch of other offensive players.
Okay, who do we got for defensive lineman?
We just drafted an edge player. Oh, I'll pull up the pick.
Okay. I can't see that, but all right. Who do we got? What do we want here?
I kind of lean towards the Michigan center, to be honest.
Listen,
get some depth there.
We all know Matt loves his Michigan guys, so I don't want to deprive Matt. I feel like every mock that we do has to have at least one Michigan guy in it, and so if it's going to be him, then let's do it.
I don't mind that.
All right.
Well, Williams is drafted a kicker. It's an interesting idea. We've already drafted a guy though, so
yeah. Well, so there's our draft: Drake May, A.D. Mitchell, Ricky Pearsall, Karan Amagaji, Jaheim Bell, Muhammad Kamara, A.J. Barner, and Drake Nugent.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah. Come back out to this. Look at that.
Look at this. Look at us. Look at us.
Yeah. We are going to be wrapping up here, Pat. You caught us right at the end.
Hey, it's okay, man. I figured I could come in and maybe give my take for like 3 minutes.
Yeah. Taylor, if you have to go, you can dip off now. If you got to write your article, we can let Pat get
I
his
might
next
have
take.
to, but this was a lot of fun, Pat. I'm glad I got to see your lovely face.
Me too, man. Hey, listen, I'm telling you, we have to get together and do some superhero talk, man. There's been some great superhero movies out. I know it's crazy busy right now, but maybe like I don't know, like June-ish, May.
I was gonna say, once things slow down, I'm very down. I miss having actual non-football talk. So hell yeah, I'm about it, buddy.
I love it. It's great to see you, buddy. Keep up the great work. You're friggin' killing it over there. Great work, man.
Appreciate you, buddy. You guys are killing it as well. Thank you so much for having me
Well,
on.
we're not on
Have
the
a great
Nina
night,
Times
everybody.
podcast, so I mean, like, you know.
All right, appreciate you, fellas. Have a great night.
Great to see you,
We'll
buddy.
sit out.
Yeah. All right. There
All
I
right,
am.
Pat. We got about 4 minutes here, so I'll let you monologue on your thoughts.
Listen, I love it. I love it. The one thing that I thought was interesting was like all the big name guys were gone. Brian Burns got traded, which is crazy to me. He got a massive contract, but Brian Burns gets traded. What's his name? Went to who the hell's the guy that we wanted? Was Wilkins went to Vegas.
Oh, Vegas.
You know, a lot of good players off the board, which kind of stinks. Would you hate to see? However, bringing back on Onwenu to me is the story of the day. Of course, Jacoby Brissett. I think we all looked at Jacoby Brissett. And did that just happen right now?
Patriots just re-signed Jalen Reagor.
Jalen Reagor. I'll tell you what. Addition by subtraction. Forget about Jalen Reagor for a second. Get the hell out of here, Devontae Parker. Get out. Get out. So Devontae Parker, see ya. Supposedly they're trying to trade Juju. Love that. See you later. And so, yes, the chat, we are giving, listen, Josh Potter right here, he's getting the credit for it. He's getting the credit. Reagor re-signed. Breaking news from Josh Potter. Killing it over here.
That's another thing Taylor has to go write about.
But I thought what they did was smart. You invest in your own guys, right? I said on Twitter earlier, like if Christian Wilkins doesn't get signed because you're giving that money to Christian Barmore, I have absolutely no issue with that. If you are taking care of the guys that you have in-house already that you think are good players and good leaders, that's what you should be doing. You should be building your team that way, right? And so I'm 100% on board with that. But, it becomes a situation where, they promised all these things, and when that thing doesn't happen, people get pissed. I love the Jacoby signing. Love it. I think we all kind of saw it coming, but it's perfect. 1 year, $8 million. Like, are you kidding me? Super easy. He's in for a year. To me, it signals they're drafting a quarterback at 3 and letting him sit. And I feel like they've talked to Drake May already. I feel like Drake May made comments about the fact that he thought it was best for him to sit for a year. So I think it makes a lot of sense. They're going to draft Drake May. They're going to sit him for a year behind Jacoby Brissett. Brissett's going to play, and then May's going to take over next year is what it sounds like. I'm a little leery at taking a quarterback at 3 overall who you think isn't ready to play right now. But at the same time, I don't know. Now, the other side of it is that Minnesota lost their quarterback today. Denver doesn't have a quarterback. None of these teams have quarterbacks. And so is Minnesota or Denver going to give you an absolute haul to move up to 3 from 11 or 12? Maybe. And if that's the case, then maybe you move down to 11 or 12 and you restock by drafting the best offensive lineman or drafting, the best available wide receivers. There's a chance that Odunze could be there at 11, right? He might not be, but he certainly could be. And so
you can come back up from 11 too if you want.
And you could do the same thing, right? Do something very similar to what Miami did when they traded back with San Fran. They picked up 2 extra first-round picks. Then they moved one of their 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years to move up and draft, Jalen Waddle. And so you could do something like that. I think that makes a ton of sense. And so, I'm also surprised that Fields hasn't been traded yet. I'm sure it'll happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So that's interesting. He is the one domino that could fall if he goes to Minnesota, if he goes to, to Denver, then obviously that team doesn't need a quarterback theoretically, right? Or at least they're not going to give up the farm to move up to 3. So, but I like what they did. Again, bring back the guys that are on your team that are good players, that are good to great players. And Mike Onwenu, maybe he doesn't fit the system. Maybe you're not sure where he's going to go. He's the best offensive lineman you have. And so, you want to bring him back. And so I like the decision to do that. I really enjoyed the moves they made the first day. It may not be the sexiest first day of free agency ever, but I think it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, fully agreed. We got to get out of here because Alex Barth and Brian Hines are going to be hot on our heels here, right on the CLNS YouTube channel. So go over and check them out. For Pat Lane, I'm Matt St. Jean. Taylor Kyles was with us before. This is the Patriot Nation podcast. Pat will be back on Thursday to talk about whatever the Patriots do between now and then. That's right, for everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you later this week.